Welcome to MotoGP Mac, where MotoGP fans congregate and fanboys fear to tread. How you doing, guys?
Doing very well. How are you doing?
Good.
What about the new guy, Acosta? I always held back on him because he didn't set the world on fire on in Moto 2, and he looked like he needed a little weight on him, a little weight in his bones, and he did build up like his body structure, and
I don't know. I think he did show his stuff in Moto 2, but
compared to the hype, let's put it that way.
Yeah, but the hype came in, right, and he was doing really well in testing, and then he had an off, and this is what I've said on. Let's talk about Acosta when he has the big one, right?
Yeah.
Any crash that he's had right now is fairly small, right? And I always go back to the likes of Lorenzo, right? And this is kind of going to really prove of where he is, right? Lorenzo, when he got into MotoGP, did everything possible to fucking injure himself. Do you know what I mean? Until he finally scared the living shit out of himself in Laguna Seca, right? And then he learned to respect that bike. Do you know what I mean? And I don't think Acosta has that natural fear yet. Do you know what I mean? Because everything has gone particularly well for him, right? And so for me, I was super impressed. I thought it was fucking epic what he did today, right? But saying that, I also knew he wasn't going to last. This is a fella that has trained to do 3 rounds of boxing in a 12-round boxing match. You knew he was going to run out of puff. But saying that, his main message today, in my view, was to put every single MotoGP rider on fucking notice that I ain't afraid of you.
Yeah.
You're a nice person, but when I get on the track, and that makes him very, very dangerous. But
balls to the wall, and he was showing everybody that he has that raw speed too. It isn't like a one-off. He has raw speed that he was built with.
Yeah, but raw speed doesn't win you races. Now, it is a very, very good thing that you can make a fast rider consistent. You can't make a slow rider fast, right? So, so look, I think there's plenty of real positive stuff coming out for Pedro Acosta. I thought he did really, really, really well. I just wished he didn't push as hard as the start. So I think if he could have come in 5th or 6th behind Mark and do you know what I mean, and kept it honest, I think it would have just really how would I say, if he just had that little bit of
restraint,
I won't say cop
keep
on,
powder dry. How about that?
And it was just like, just show that little bit. Okay, I'm here. I'm not going to burn my tire. And it that would have been turned around to me, and I would have said like, "Fuck, like this guy is the real deal." Do you know what I mean? He's nearly maturing. I want to see him have, and I think this is a bad way of saying it, but I want to see him how he reacts after the big bang. Right? Once he has the big bang, he understands the bike. Then he's going, and that's and for me, that's the way that he will become an absolute true alien. Do you know what I mean? He has that bang. He's learned from it, and now he's using that fear as a bit of healthy thing. But I'm telling you one thing, right? Marc Marquez is like, maybe it is time that in the next 2 or 3 years I'm gone. Do you know what I mean? I couldn't be dealing with this.
I saw that too. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's just like,
you don't know in their head though. They're like I say, how many times I always say they're like fighters, and they always seem to leave a little too late. The sport.
Yeah.
So
look, I don't think Marcus is in any danger right now in the way of leaving, right? But he's seeing a lot of himself, I think, in young Acosta coming in. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
And it's going to be a very quick that Acosta wins the Spanish crowd over, let's just call it.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? Because he's coming in, he's going to be their next great hope for the next 10, 12 years, right? Mark will always be, and it was the same with Rossi. Like Rossi's fan base diluted with the younger generation of Rossi protégés coming in. So like you had like some Morbidelli, Pecco, Marini, they all kind of, when Rossi left, they gravitated to one of those. Do you know what I mean? More and more. So it was kind of loyalty of bloodlines or whatever you want to call it, right? So, and I think with the likes of Acosta, I think there's another story there. I think Acosta coming in, Spain's next great hope, on a bike that has never won a world championship in MotoGP.
Yeah, you gotta root for him, don't you? You know what I mean? That's that little engine could.
Yeah. Brad Binder is definitely on notice as well. Jack Miller is even more so on notice. So, and it's not, and don't get me wrong, right? But Acosta has come in. Hervé Poncharal openly admitted, like, we got a diamond here. Like, I'm so excited about this guy. That naturally is going to flow over into KTM. They're going to see this guy's results. Like, you look at it like, okay, Jack did have the crash, but I think he would have been battling with Jack in his first Grand Prix to where they would finish. Do you know what I mean? In this today. But no, look, I thought he was really, really good, really consistent when fighting with the likes of Marc Marquez and that. Like, he put a pass on Marc, I think, in turn 6. Do you know what I mean? And it was like, hey, motherfucker, I'm coming through. Do you know what I mean? And it was just, there was no shyness in it. And for me, I respect that a lot. I just wish, if he was like 6th, I think that would have been just put shivers down the spine of fucking every rider.
At least he stayed on 2 wheels when the tires went shot, because they were shot apparently when they went.
What was the commentator's thing? Was that Digi Antonio behind him needs to wear a breathing apparatus because
they're throwing a rag around or something. Yeah,
burn the tire up.
Yeah, look, it was really good. I think if I look at the racing today, I think it's very similar to the past 2 or 3 years. Really, I don't see any more or less excitement in it. Do you know what I mean? I think, I think we were spoiled at the end of last season. Do you know what I mean? And even the season before that, when it got squeaky bum time with Quartararo and Pecco. Do you know what I mean? We saw some good racing, some good passing, and I think we're in a rich vein. I do believe in the past 10, 12 years we're in a rich vein of racing. Do you know what I mean?
You're the best racing in the world, period.
Yeah, but in the last 10 years or so, it's all been, it's just been getting better and better and closer and closer. And, it's not like the years of Rossi fucking leading by 12 seconds and 15 seconds and stuff. So like that has come down, and it's definitely giving us something to look forward to. But for me,
what I said to Mac earlier, I said this is the depth of talent is so great too. It's not just Acosta, okay? It's the Martins. It's the I haven't seen in 40 years. You had 4 probable winners. And then 2
but all these academies, Jake, now when you look at it now, right? Let's look at it now, right? Every rider coming into MotoGP can speak English fluently,
right?
Go back 20 years ago, they fucking spoke Spanish, right?
Yep.
Right. Saturday night, they were out riding their girlfriend and drinking a couple of beers 20 years ago. It was a whole different thing. Whereas now, it's super professional. These lads are in an academy. They have mind coaches. They have this. They have fitness coaches. Like Brad Binder has lost weight, right? He's fitter than he ever was, and that's because Red Bull put him through a fucking training program.
Oh yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And it's just like the money that they're spending $100 million a year, just say on 2 bikes or 4 bikes or whatever, right? The rider is the pilot, and I think it's probably the right word rather than rider is pilot, right? And if he gets tired, you can have the best R&D in the fucking world. Like, if he's tired or if he's fucking,
it's like boxing again. When you get tired, you're done. You're done.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
it.
and it's just so for me when I look at it, like I just think the level has moved into the professional level of outside the track has moved so much more that no one really sees it. Like, but like you look at the VR46 Academy, they're on bikes every fucking day. They're bike fit in the gym, doing this. You know, you come into the academy, you can't speak English. You go, they give you English lessons. You know, it's. But again, you know, that's the demand that's now on, and this was happening 25 years ago in Formula One. Do you know what I mean?
I don't know Formula One.
Yeah, but like you look at Lewis Hamilton, he's what? He's 34, nearly 40. 13, he was signed by fucking McLaren.
Did he go to quick? Did he go to Ferrari?
He's going to Ferrari next year. But at 13 years of age, he was signed by McLaren. Do you know what I mean? And maybe at 19 or 20, he was put into one of the cars. But in that 6 or 8 year period before he got into the car,
he was 13 years old
when he was signed. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Jesus.
But that's what happens nowadays. Like the lads racing in the piss ass of Spanish championships and whatever, right? They would be, you know, brought in VR46 academies. They would use 2 or 3 year old fucking bikes. You know what I mean? And they'd learn their craft there. And it's like, I know it's not just VR46. There is a good few academies that do it. Like so the whole level, and then you look at the likes of Pecco, Martin. Like Pecco today was fucking. He took off, right, and I was sitting inside in the airport waiting for the fucking plane. And I was like, oh, for fuck's sake, he's going to crash. My young fella was next to me and he's like, what's wrong with you? And I was like, your man's acting the bollocks, right? Because, right, Pecco is a naturally slow starter. He likes to build the heat into the tires and then have a go, right? But what we learned from yesterday's sprint is that if you don't catch or stick with Martin very early and disrupt him very early, if he gets into that groove, he's gone. Very much so the same as Pecco.
So Brad was close though yesterday. I don't know why he didn't, try to overtake him. I don't.
It's just like I don't know. I think I thought yesterday's race or Saturday's race was good, but like the sprint race is always very dodgy, right? Like because you're going balls to the wall. Like they were a second a lap faster on the sprint than they were in the race pace. Do you know what I mean? And that's early race pace now that we're calling it, right? Not late race pace. So they were definitely burning the tires faster. And Martin specific and Pecco, they're really suffering when the tire goes down with chatter. The chatter is really coming into the bike. Mm-hmm. So I think Pecco decided today that he's going to can go, and he had to get in front of Martin and then see what happens. Do you know what I mean? And for me, when I saw it, I was like, oh, for fuck's sake, like, do you know what I mean? And
that chatter seems to go across brands and everything else. You notice?
No, it's all the 24 Ducatis have it. Bad.
I think that the Aprilia said they had it, and the
Aprilia,
and the KTM. Bender said he had it too.
Yeah, well, bikes would naturally have chatter, right? But
I was wondering if it's from the rubber, from the Pirelli rubber laying down, and it doesn't mix well.
No, I think from my understanding my understanding is that the Ducati one is different to anyone else's. It's more so actually in the rear swing arm area of the bike where the chatter is coming in. So is it something to do with the frame or what? They don't know. But Pecco, I thought was outstanding. I like he was. Do you know what I mean? I was getting a bit of squeaky bum moment, all right, when I saw Acosta coming at the start, because I was kind of going, is he going to try and dive bomb past two of these? Do you know what I mean? And then try and have a go. Like fuck it, you're that close,
Around lap 5, I thought he was going to maybe try for the win.
Yeah. And then I thought Martin did a really good race. I genuinely thought, like, when Brad went past him and he took Brad back I was like, okay, he's going to pull the pin, but you could see it. He was already fucked at that stage, and he knew he was fucked at that stage. And I think that's why he didn't go after Pecco. Like Pecco was what 7 or 8 tenths. Like that's why he didn't close that gap. And I think the thing I was really surprised with him about was that he was very mature, because when Brad when at the end of the race, when he knew people wouldn't maybe have saved tire, he had tire left so to defend against Mark. But when Brad came past him, he left him go. He knew he had nothing else. And I'm kind of glad to see that little bit of maturity out of Martin, that he was like, okay, I need to defend myself, or Joe, need to keep a bit of tire here. Brad did an absolutely excellent race, I thought. I was a little bit worried towards the end of it, and I said this in the video, would he just naturally run out of tire like the KTM does? And he didn't. He put it up, but like I don't think Pecco was ever really threatened by him. Do you know what I mean? Like he put in, I think with 2 laps to go or 3 laps to go, he put in a lap that like took like 4 tenths out of Pecco, and he just fucking answered straight back. Do you know what I mean? You're like, fuck it. Do you know what I mean? But look, I thought, if I'm honest, I thought it was really, really good between those boys. I'm really happy to see Mark finish 4th. I pitched that he would be 5th, so it's not too far off where I thought he would be. It was good, as we mentioned, to see him getting ruffled by Acosta, because of all people, Mark came in and he ruffled so many fucking feathers when he came into MotoGP. It was kind of like
it's karma. Back around. So
how do you like that? You know what I mean?
Yeah. And kind of guess what? I bounce better than you.
Yeah.
So no, look, I'm really happy to see it draw. I think it'll do a lot for his confidence. And unfortunately for Grassini, their duck was broken in Qatar. Do you know what I mean? Because every time they've been at Qatar in the past 2 seasons previous, they've won. You know what I mean? So they won it with Bastianini, and they won it last year with Di Gianantonio. So it was like, and I was thinking of this before the race started, and I was like, fucking hell, if your man Frankie, whatever his name, Mark's crew chief, has the special setting for Qatar, your man could be fucking God. But
Marquez seemed to jump back. He got past, and then he jumped back at him. It didn't seem to stop part way. He didn't seem to go balls to the wall.
Yeah, I think. Look, again, this is one of the things that I said about Mark, is that he's still understanding that Ducati and how to ride it and whatever, right? And I'm really happy to see that. So he got into the dogfight with Acosta. He didn't go back to natural Honda. He was like, all right, fucker, do you know what I mean? Waste your tire, do you know what I mean? I'm going to not sit and chill back here with my arm out the window, but he didn't go get stuck into the dogfight, do you know what I mean? He knew he had to make that tire last.
I'll get you next race. I'll get better.
Yeah. But he stuck to the game plan, and I think that in itself is very good to see in Marc Marquez. And when you look at last year, when we talk about his maturity, it's not about his maturity of this. Is that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. He's overriding the bike because he had to override the bike. But if we look at any normal rider who is overriding the bike, there is 100%, there's 105, and there's 110%. Do you know what I mean? They know at 105% they're less likely to crash, right? But if you go 110%, you're going to crash. It's just it's going to bite you. Do you know what I mean?
What do you think, DB, by the way? You were saying
no, I think so. Bagnaia, I think he has the perfect style, like as far as like making that Ducati work for him, versus Marquez had to make the Honda. He had to make the Honda work versus making that bike work for him, and so he's trying to change it. But I like his mindset because I saw that he was watching Pedro in front of when Pedro passed him. He was observing him and his lines, and then he just waited until he made a mistake, and then he just slipped right by. So I like seeing Marquez more like strategical and just waiting and observing and making his move. And I think Pedro, if he learns how to do that, he will be deadly. Like I want to see a podium from him. So we'll see.
I think you could see a podium from Pedro Costa very soon.
Heck yeah.
Like we're going to Portimao.
Portimao. Yeah.
That's right.
That's a Raiders track. That is a fucking Raiders track. Like no, I think you're spot on, right? Like when Mark passed Acosta's tire was gone. Do you know what I mean? And Mark could see that 5 or 6 corners beforehand, and he didn't press. He's like, I know you're going to fucking run away. Right. It was just like, time to go to school, boy. In what it is. Again, that's the maturity though that I like to see out of Mark, and not trying to fucking throw the bike at the fucking ditch, do you know what I mean? Just to try and get a point or whatever, So I think he did well. The Beast was very good to see Bastianini up there, right? He's also suffering with the chatter, and I saw a few comments on the thing saying, Ducati said that the 2024 bike is going to be much faster than the 2023. And they were kind of saying like it doesn't really look like it. The 2023 bike has done a couple of hundred, maybe say 2,000 or 3,000 laps of Qatar. The 2024 bike hasn't, so they haven't even got that fully dialed in yet. So it's 5 or 6 races, and then we'll see, is there a big difference between the 24 and the 23? It's not going to be an instantaneous click.
Yeah. So what is Martin on? Is he on 23 or 24?
He's on 24.
24, yeah.
Man, that's a big difference though. Between him and Pecco.
Well, it's not really. It was 2-3 seconds?
Yeah,
that's tire. But that's a tire. That's a tire race, and like that's
okay.
Like if you look at it, they were going out with the main thing, and they just all watched the Moto 2 race that just happened earlier on, right? And you had people that would be really strong finishing fucking 30 seconds behind the race leader, right? What the fuck is going on with that? They burnt the tire. Do you know what I mean? So it's straight. It was clearly visible an hour before the race that you got to manage this tire. Yeah,
Pecco manages his tires pretty well, but he doesn't get much credit for it. Not a lot.
Yeah.
Well, he manages his tires because his riding style isn't as aggressive, say, as Jorge Martin's, right? Mm-hmm. He doesn't spin the tire as much, or even as Binder. Binder spins the tire to turn it quite a lot, whereas Pecco it wouldn't be as aggressive. But again, like each to their own. Look, they're able to hustle the bike around it. But I thought for Bastianini, it was good for him to get in there. I was very surprised with Alex Marquez as well. I'll be very honest. He was only 3 seconds off Mark.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Not a lot. You know what I mean? Now he's still behind him.
Right.
With a full year on a fucking Ducati, right?
That's yeah.
And he's very happy to be on that Ducati. I don't care what they say on Sport of 44. He had a smile that big when we took that helmet off when he got back.
Right.
Oh, right. Yeah. Listen, like Mark will only go strength to strength, and he will. But the problem is, so will Pecco, so will Martin, so will Binder. Do you know what I mean? They're like, right now, there's definitely five in the running for the championship. Do you know? Just who clicks first? Who, like in the Ducati Cup, whoever solves this chattering problem first is going to take an advantage. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And I wouldn't be coming in and saying I've solved my chattering problem. I would just say, "Oh, there's another problem."
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
Do you know what I mean? Now, look, obviously they'd see it on the data, but I suppose we better talk about the Japanese Cup. All right, people are going on about the Ducati Cup. There was a point.
It was held in the parking lot.
3/10 of a second between a Honda and a Yamaha. That's all.
Yamaha outdid the Hondas.
3/10 of a second. Nothing in it.
It's not a ton, but yeah.
Nothing. And technically, if they actually, I don't know, Honda might have even scored more points.
Because they're ahead in the manufacturer's championship at this point. Which doesn't mean a damn thing, but
it's, if they score, well, let's wait and see what their points are at the end of the season. Do they get their concessions? But no, it's for me, same problem for Yamaha. And the lads after I was reading their press conference after, it's like, yeah. So we thought in the sprint race it might have shown up. So we were hoping to do better in the sprint or in the actual race than the sprint race, and then a lot of work to do. I was happy to see Zarco beat Mir. I thought it was a really, really kind of an interesting one. You know what I mean? And look, let's be fair, right? Zarco versus Quartararo as a rider, like Zarco isn't even on that level, and there's 0.3 of a second between them.
Yeah,
squeaky fucking bum time for both. Marini, I don't know what the fuck is wrong with Marini. Like, I think he's afraid of it or something.
Yeah,
I think he has big man syndrome. I'll go the easy route on that right now.
Yeah, I would say if he was about 10 seconds behind them, but he was fucking 20 odd seconds behind them. Do you know what I mean? What? Yeah, like that's nearly a second a lap. I think he was 40. I think he was 42 seconds behind.
Jesus.
It's like we said though, because I'm looking at it now. Morbidelli 18th and Marini's 20th. So
you can give Morbidelli a pass for 3 or 4 races, right? He doesn't know the bike completely. He had one test day on it, doesn't know the bike. But like you look at the likes of Marini last year on a Ducati, went around that circuit 1 minute 50 something in quali. So he can go well around that circuit, right? He can't get fucking near it now. Near it. Do you know what I mean? And
should have finished ahead of Morbidelli, right? Well, I don't know.
Morbidelli.
Yeah.
He has a record MotoGP for the amount of breaks he got.
Well, look, I suppose
be there with him,
Yeah, but look, I suppose this is one of those edge races as well, right? Where it is a tire race. A tire race. It's all about managing the tire, obviously, but not getting sucked into stupid fucking battles. Like Rins was actually up there with Fabio and the 2 Hondas, but he burnt his front tire. And it wasn't just burning rear tires; it was burning the right hand side of the front tire, and you're goosed. Then, do you know what I mean? So and then he fell back through the grid. So like he wasn't actually too far off their pace, But saying that, I think things will be different in Portimao. Although I think maybe has Portimao been resurfaced? I'm not sure. Something has happened there.
Yeah, it was resurfaced.
So if that has been resurfaced, that could be a fucking tire race. But Mark was actually very lucky. I don't know, did you catch that on the live feed? When the first race was aborted, if that had actually gone, he didn't have the front right height locked in.
Yeah.
So he would have got a fucking an old school start on a Ducati, whereas probably would have fucking
like, what do I do here? Like I don't know how to do this. Look, he was like, huh?
yeah. Like that petrol tank. That petrol tank was going to slap him in the face real hard. Like, do you know what I mean? But Oliveira did okay until he had to do his long lap. Raul, I'd say Raul is gonna get a slap from Mike Webb, who was the race director, because they came out to tell him to get off, and then he wouldn't get off.
Yeah,
and then he had to take the spare bike out, and not the best start. Alicia Spagro. I am a kind of at a loss because I was reading a lot of the kind of insider forums and stuff like this, and a lot of people were after yesterday's sprint were like, he technically, if he can get away, he should. He was the bookie's favorite. Let's just call it that way. So from a lot of people inside the paddock, and he got pushed out. And you know what I've been saying for fucking months. Aprilia is like the Yamaha. It needs to run certain lines.
Yeah.
And he was just buying people, and that was it. Now Maverick, I will give it to Maverick. Maverick in the sprint wasn't close to late. Maverick in the feature race was only about 2 or 3 seconds behind, which wasn't bad for a person that doesn't get on, or was finding it difficult to get on with the new bike. So I find it interesting, but Qatar definitely didn't leave us. Definitely.
What do you think about DG?
I thought, and I'll give him credit for today because he he went out the front door yesterday, hurt himself. Now, not broken bones, hurt yourself, right? But if anyone has actually crashed a bike, right, and tumbled down the road, right, everyone who has done that knows the pain the next day.
Yep. When you wake up and go, oh.
No, you wake up and you think, I'm just going to get out of bed. And next to it, you move and the pain hits
doesn't
you.
Go that way.
And then it's just like...
boxing, same thing.
That's dangerous.
When you win the fight, you do that.
Yeah, because he fell in the middle of the track, almost the middle.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. But look, and I give him, he must have been in pain. Now, look, the adrenaline is another thing, do you know what I mean? And it does help, but it doesn't take away the pain. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can take away a lot of the pain, but it can take away all of the pain. And I still think he was still stiff and sore, and I think he did. I think he did well, and I think if he was fit, he would definitely have been in that Marquez Costa argument. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's you can tell me. I think he is in. I think he's in a very good position for Ducati next season. Do you know what I mean? And like, if, for example, Rossi does go, or VR46 does go to Yamaha or whomever, it will be very interesting. Now, Uzio was giving an update, and he did give an update over the weekend that he's still speaking with Gigi, sorry, that he's asked Gigi a specific question. Now, I can fucking 100% guarantee that this is the question, is that if we sign with G, are we at least going to get one GP25 next season? Do you know what I mean? They want a works bike. Now, Ducati's stance on this is that there's only going to be 4. But if it's to keep the likes of DG and Bezzecchi, might be a restructuring in the world of what Ducati do, because
that's hard. That's very puzzling, because in the 40 years I've been looking at this stuff, I've never seen somebody make such a change. Go so bad for a year and a half, and then all of a sudden go. Like
his race engineering his first year wasn't great.
Yeah, I mean, it's been such a change. We've all seen people have a big jump.
But okay,
like that, man. That just rocks my. It's amazing.
There's a couple of things there that went on there. His engineer the first year was a different engineer than your man Frankie something, right? And it took him 6 or 8 months to get used to Yamaha. But they found that setting in the GP22. And once they found that setting, it was fine. The same is with the GP23. But It seems to me the difference between Bezzecchi and Digi is that Digi can just ride through it, right? Bezzecchi going into the corner, he can't feel the front the way he wants to, so he can't go through the first, and it's only corner entry is where the problem is, and he can't ride it how he wants to. Whereas Digi is just, I think Digi is just holding on and just like. A little bit of Marc Marquez syndrome. Do you know what I mean? Like I'll just, and it's a very, very, very common thing in road racing that you ride into your grip. So you go over the grip, and you ride in to get it back. Do you know what I mean? So So it's a very, and some people can do it naturally, and some people it just never feels natural. Do you know? But I have a lot of faith that they will figure it out for Bezzecchi. Right? I think Bezzecchi is having the same problems that Pecco was, and this is where I really wonder: will that mid-season upgrade come over to VR46 first before it hits Gresini?
Why would they both pairs, like a test?
No, because Pecco, like if you look at the academy riders for VR46, they all ride the same way.
Okay.
Just next time that you're seeing them, like for example, Pecco does ride a little bit wider.
Naturally be the same, if you have all the same guys in the same track, they'd have a tendency to do that too.
Yeah. Like if you look at it, Pecco rides probably the widest of everyone.
Okay, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Bezzecchi is a little bit tighter than him, but he wouldn't be as Martin tight on exit of corners, for example. Or going into corners, he wouldn't be as tight going into the corner. So but like Pecco really, really is. Pecco actually is an inline four rider. I would nearly say that's the way he rides.
Yeah, or damn close. Yeah.
Bezzecchi it would be fairly close to it. Morbidelli is the same as Pecco. So I think Pecco's data will help Morbidelli quite a lot on the 24. But I think Pecco's upgrade, because Pecco was having that same thing, is that he could feel the front end, but it was like a light switch. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think when they made that change, so it'll be interesting to see, will all GP23s get that upgrade soon, or will it just be some just to cure a problem, if that makes sense? So it will be interesting, and it is interesting that what Uccio said about that he's asked Gigi one specific question, so we know that they want works equipment or they want promise of works or more work support or whatever. So it will be interesting. God only knows what happens.
I'm surprised nobody's brought up the fact that with Marquez, though, the Marc Marquez, that he was such a strong rider on the front end, and the bike was set up to ride the front ends in an extreme manner. Okay. Now he's going to a rear biased chassis with rear biased tires. His differentiation was so different that I would think that the engineer has to make a change too. You got to find that engineer that goes from one gamut to the next, and that could take time.
Yeah, no, but I think I genuinely think, right, that Ducati have said to Marc, you need to change your style.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And that's it. We're not
change your style. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we're not going to change this bike for you. This bike
they'll change it as much as they can.
No, they'll tweak it, right? But they're not going to go around like for example, Friday and Saturday, or Friday, Pecco had two different headstocks positions on his bike because he was trying to figure out whatever, right? And they're standard parts or whatever, and yeah, they will fuck around with those with Marc. But like Marc they're not going to bring out a new frame.
Right. Yeah, right. You're right. Exactly.
Right. So it's kind of make the best of what you have. Mm-hmm. Shut up, Joe. Not in a bad way, right? But it's like we're not going to re-engineer this bike for just for you.
They're not. They're not. But I still think that's a hurdle. What do you think, CB?
So I mean, he's at that older age. Hopefully, he can adapt. I feel like that's what he's been doing with Honda, just adapt to the bike and ride it, the best way it feels, So I'm hoping to see that in the season later on, that he will find his own style to get, ahead, get on the podium, whatever it is. And but I don't know, man. He kind of looked like Rossi when at the end, Rossi was just holding on. Like he wasn't trying to do anything extravagant. He was just trying to just hold on. And that I kind of saw that today, and that I don't want to see that. I want to see him fighting for a podium.
You want to see him go balls to the wall. I didn't.
Yeah, but not take people out. Don't take anybody out.
10/10 either. I didn't see him going riding at 110% with the things,
Yeah, but like I think there's a couple of ground rules that he understands now. Firstly, you cannot ride that Ducati like a Honda, right? The minute you have that Ducati moving, game over.
They're the best riders in the world. They got their hands, they got their head, and they got their ass.
Yeah.
I'll bust your shoes.
But saying that, he can't ride that. That bike is low and long.
Yeah, I know.
Not tall and short. And if you try to hustle that fucking thing, it'll just go slower.
Could be. Could be. It could just go.
And like, look, I think for Mark, he showed great maturity. I actually do take on the point that is he starting to enter the Rossi phase of fucking Rossi, like towards the end of his career, celebrating a 10th position,
Yeah.
And look, I know people are talking about Ducati screwing Mac over, right? Look, Ducati can have any rider that they want to tomorrow morning. It's like a billionaire walking into a strip club. He can have them all. Do you know what I mean? If he wants them, right? And my view of this is that Mark has max 3-4 years. He's not their future. Look at Costa coming in, right? That is like, there is fucking, okay, maybe not on his level, but that's the next generation coming in, right? And they're instantly no fear of fucking nobody. No. Take my fucking 7 titles or 8 titles and, fuck off and marry my woman and have a bunch of babies.
Fanboys will accuse
but it's not even about
COVID. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but it's not
COVID. It's Ducati's fault.
Yeah, but it's not even that. It's more so for me when I look at it. It's like, Mark going into the twilight of his career. Ducati are not stupid, right? They have the choice of people coming up, right? For example, next year for the factory team, they have a choice of 5 riders. Easy, just for 2 seats, right? 1 seat is now gone. Do you know what I mean? So they have a choice of 4 riders for 1 seat. They have signed Aldegar to Pramac, so there's only 1 more seat in Pramac.
Yeah, who is that kid? He's like out of nowhere.
No, he's handy. Again, he's handy. He's one of the lads that have been able to give it to Pedro on occasions,
Yeah,
but it's just for me, I just don't think Marc Marquez is their priority. Do you know what I mean? I think the up and coming future of Ducati is the younger people.
Yeah,
and it's not a screw job on Marc Marquez, right?
No.
At the end of the day, if Mark really wanted to be with Ducati, he would have signed that 2-year deal. He didn't,
Yeah.
He would have had 2 years on the latest spec machinery, and he turned it down. So that's the truth of it. So
and they're not gonna really want him. They're not gonna change the world unless he changes the world. Unless he comes in and rock and rolls and dominates again.
Mark,
they're not screwing him. He has to prove himself. That's all.
Yeah, and that's it. Now, I commend Mark for the approach that he has taken. He hasn't been throwing the Ducati down the road often.
Nope.
He's lifted it up. He's fucking dropped it down. He's moved it. So he's done proper testing on it. So he has an understanding. But he also, in my view, has the understanding that the bike is not going to change. Do you know what I mean? It is. That's the chassis that you've got, and until you bend that chassis, you will have that chassis. And when you bend it, we will replace it with the exact same chassis that it was.
Yeah.
You're not going to get a 24. You're not going to get a 25.
Right.
You're not going to get.
And we don't have special engineers just for you.
Exactly. And I think, and like the other thing that I have to say about Ducati, right, is I love the fact that they can all see their data.
Yeah.
I think it's just superb. That
isn't Aprilia doing that now too?
Yeah, well, with Oliveira, yeah. Because the other data is not relevant. It's 23. So it makes perfect sense that they would do it with Oliveira, but Raul's bike is 23, so it makes no sense for him to see the 24's data because it's a completely different bike. But I think, like the 23s can all look at each other's and find relevant data between that. The 24s can look at that. Now, look, to be fair, unless the gap is very big between the 23 and 24, I think all the tire data and that is relevant. Do you know what I mean? Because, the downforce levels are not really going to be that different now. But so look, there is probably an advantage this year of any years between the Ducatis because I think the performance is going to be pretty similar. Maybe towards the middle of the season, if they do update the 24, I think that's where the bigger jump will come. When Ducati are pretty good at doing a mid-season update, they seem to get it right. But the problem is, it's only for maybe one or two riders. Do you know what I mean? It's not going to be for everyone. Which
really, I'm surprised about that.
Well, they did that last year. Martin and Pecco got the launch system first, and then it was Bastianini got it after. So look, I think it's interesting. Overall, though, I thought Qatar was pretty good. Like, firstly, it was their 20-year anniversary, and secondly, it was the 75th anniversary of Dorna and MotoGP motorbike racing. So, pretty big weekend all in all for them. Who else? There was another one I wanted to talk about. Oh, what was it?
What do you guys see? Any questions?
So I was gonna say, like, is there anything that you think needs to change as far as how this first race went?
I think the issue on Saturday or on Friday was a very weird issue. I get why they did it when it rained, but I don't get why they did it either, right? So when it rains out there, there's a very particular thing that happens, and because it's in the desert and sand is on the circuit, Friday the track is still pretty green, right? So, but when it rains, the sand and the water mix together. So as that comes up, it comes up as kind of mud. It's not really mud, but kind of mud. But they still sent them out there on Friday evening to have a wet practice. Now, they gave them a minimum of 8 laps that they had to do. So, but they wanted to get, and I guess they wanted to get an understanding that if they were to get another surprise rain shower over the course of the rest of the weekend, could they race? And you could kind of see it in the first 5 laps of all bikes there. This is not a great idea. Do you know what I mean? You could see riders going up and they're pushing their hand across their visor, right? Now, if you look, it's not the streaks. It's there's a whole lot of things though. If they're wearing tear-offs, the water's coming down in between the tear-off, right? But if they're just using their natural thing, if you look at it, it's like little wet sanding of the visor. So as you do this, you're just causing scrapes across your screen. So So it's trying to get them to just use the one finger wipe. I don't know, do you ever use it? But it's the one finger wipe at the back of your glove. Just wipe it across once. So for me, it was kind of like a little bit of a pointless test. Moto 2 were already out there. They had the data really to kind of say, it's not really a good idea. So like for me, they should have just cancelled the session and run it on the Saturday. No, Saturday was fairly busy. And I suppose for me, where I get a little bit worried about these things is that like they had a practice qualifying in a sprint. Do you know what I mean? There's a lot of sessions to get done, and I think they could have just called the session on Friday. That the session on Friday would have been just that. The one session done, that's Q1, Q2 sorted. Do you know what I mean? Give him maybe 15 minutes then just to like a warm up on Saturday or something, just to get going a little bit more time, because the session on Friday night was the most valuable session for anything, right? Because that was going to be race time. So they were going to get an idea of the weather conditions. And this is why a lot of people struggled in the sprint, was because they had no data at all, because the practice session was on an irrelevant time to the time that the sprint was going to take place. And that's why I thought Aprilia would do quite well, because with the sprint race they did quite well with the electronics and the settings. They were the closest. And Crafar was saying, Joe, that majority of people had bet that they had got their electronic settings right. Obviously they didn't. But I think in situations like that where where a session was so critical, sending them out in the wet was actually probably the wrong thing to do. Do you know what I mean? If it rains in Qatar, you can't run. You literally can't. You have the lights, you have the sand, the water. Like the bikes were fucking destroyed. Like I was talking to Sleepwalker, and we were just like saying, imagine the poor fucking mechanics. Now your man went out and he did his 8 laps, right? The bike is fucking destroyed. Like, I mean, destroyed.
Everywhere. Yeah.
And he's spending the next fucking 9 hours cleaning that fucking spotless. And your man goes out and fucks it down the road and fucking practice. Do you know what I mean? It was just like a lot of work for nothing. You know, they gained nothing really out of it. Do you know what I mean?
I think Raul Fernandez should be nailed to the wall. I know nothing happened in this case, but what would happen if, like they were saying, if they would end up going out on cool tires because what he did? Okay, he had a first turn corner pileup. It's not like it hasn't happened before.
It's not that. That's not the problem, right?
And his attitude,
It's the attitude. He was told by the race director or one of the race officials, get off the track, and he didn't.
No.
And that's, for me, that is a problem, right? If you don't know the rules, you shouldn't be on the fucking track, and you stalled that bike, you got to get off the track. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
he knew what it was. He said flat no.
Oh yeah.
It's like let's say so you drag him off.
Yeah. And it was just, and you're just like, look, I get it. You're ready for the race, and you're the bike dies, and now there was obviously something wrong with it because he took the spare bike.
Yeah, I saw it. Like, what something had to be wrong with it, right? Because he ditched it and just ran straight to the pit. And
I think there could have been two things, and I don't know this for sure, but I will find it out.
It was odd. It was my mistake that the announcer say you can't do that when it was running down to get it, and the announcer in the background says, "Oh, he can't do that."
No, he can. Yeah, he can. Yeah. He can get on the spare bike if there's a problem with his number one bike.
I thought they could. That's what threw me. I was like,
no, they can't.
I just say you can't do it.
The race hadn't started, so technically he can swap the machine. Now, where the problem for me comes in is, and why I believe that he moved to the second bike was that they plugged it in. You could see them messing away with the laptop. I don't think they could find the problem. Right, and kind of good team management would say, okay, well, look, if there's an intermittent problem here, let's not risk it again. So let's take the spare bike. Do you know what I mean? Let's just put it. And he had to join the back of the grid, and look,
he called it quits. So I guess, was it something technical, or he just felt like it wasn't worth it starting from the back and trying to catch up?
He came in, didn't he? Yeah. I think for me, when I look at it, I think when you're starting at the back of the grid, if you're not getting up into 5 or 6 places per lap, in like 5 laps in, if you're not making any headway, save your engine. Do you know what I mean? Save the miles. There's no point.
But who made the decision though to have?
Oh, that will always be the rider. There will always be the rider. He will turn around and say, "Fuck it," which separates, I suppose, the aliens and those like you could be guaranteed that Mark and Fabio and Binder and Jack and all of these guys, they'd ride with 1 foot peg if they were allowed.
Yes, I think too.
Remember that happened to Fabio, and that happened to Fabio on the same track. He stalled it. He started from pit, and then I think he finished like 12th or something.
Yeah,
but that's what I mean. But it was fine for him because he was making progress every lap. But if Raul wasn't making progress, I get it. There's no point putting extra fucking stress on an engine if you're nowhere near battling for a point.
And my favorite rider went nowhere. They said he's whispering in the background. He was grumbling in the pits. The announcer said he was grumbling in the pits because they did nothing this race. Fabio Guarniero. So that's my favorite rider. I always thought he has character. He never, even when times are bad, he didn't tow or he didn't bash past or nothing. He just did it.
I think,
he's a good rider. Huh?
Fabio's a good guy, and look again. All Fabio said after the race, I read his statement after the race was, they thought they'd be closer in the main race than in the sprint, but they're not. So it's just like a lot of work to do, and look, what really emphasizes the problem for me is that, and I mentioned this already, is that Fabio Quartararo is a true alien, right?
Yeah.
But he only just about beat a non-alien on a Honda by 0.3 of a second. That's the problem for me.
True. Now that you put it that way, that makes it even worse.
It
does.
So it's the bike.
Huh? It's the bike. It's the bike. The bike.
Yeah.
Both bikes are that bad. And that's not bashing. That's not bashing. But then saying that, I still think we can have a bit of fun out of it by having the Japanese Cup. A lot of people are out going with the Ducatis, and they're and look, the Ducati's day was nearly fucking pissed on by Brad Binder. Do you know what I mean? He was like 1.5 seconds behind Pecco. Who
we need more of that.
Well, but we do. But
their damn cam's been real close to Ducati, I think.
But saying that, right? When you look at it, right, the Ducati is a really good bike. When you look at World Supersport, for say, go back 3 years ago, what was the best bike on the grid? World Supersport.
Have the slightest.
3 years ago, Kawasaki on Ducati.
No,
Ducati didn't come in till last year. Or the year before last.
World Supersport.
Yeah. I can tell you, for a fact, the most popular bike was the Yamaha R6.
R6, yeah, what am I saying?
Yeah, everyone had an R6. Well, sorry, majority of people that were trying to either on low budget or whatever. R6. There was majority of people that were entering into it or wanted it. Like at one stage, I think there was like 5 or 6 of the fast fellas had an R6. Now there was the others, the MVs and the Kawasaki's and this, that, and the other. But it was just like when you're looking at it and you're just like, why is one why is half the field R6s, right?
Yeah.
And that's because it's a really good bike for
the best bike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And you look at Ducatis, right? And you're like, okay,
the same thing.
But they also give the R6 advantages when they really didn't. They were winning already, and they were giving them extra RPMs.
Not in the R6, no.
Not in the R6?
No.
You sure?
Yeah.
Or am I thinking when they're mixing them, when they mixed them from the R6 and they put the MVs together and the 800s and the 600s together the first year, they said they screwed up. That's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah, that was
so
Scott
they were going
Smart.
to change it, and then they didn't. It was
that was Scott Smart made the balls of that. If you
yeah.
But that was 2 years ago. So because last year Bulaga and the year before was the first year of that. But like again, it's just natural that if a manufacturer is making a really good bike and you're a rider, you want to get on that bike. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I'm sure if Brad Binder was offered as a free agent, just say they were all free agents, right? There's not one person would turn down a Ducati.
All right.
Like now I am.
And CF Moto's coming next.
I am happy to see that that Cal Crutchlow was wrong. Because Cal Crutchlow turned around and said when Mark signed for Ducati, he was like, "Oh, from the next first practice session, Mark's going to be destroying."
Yeah.
People. And it's not. It's just one of these things that come in that it's just like you look at it and you're just like, now Acosta's come in, and Acosta, unfortunately for Mark, Acosta now is the Spanish is going to become the great Spanish hope. Do you know what I mean? And you're going to have this thing for the next couple of years between them of like throw the professor and the apprentice. Like, do you know what I mean? But the apprentice is going to qualify. Do you know what I mean? And pass his trade. So, look, I think that watching that happen will be epic, and it kind of, how would I suppose, we haven't seen that really since Marquez broke onto the scene. Do you know what I mean? There was a lot of established people there, and Mark came in, and he blew the doors off him. Do you know what I mean? I think Acosta is this next level on to that. Do you know what I mean? But he has to have that big bang, and how he comes out of the big bang. The big bang doesn't mean he hurts himself. The big bang is that he scares the shit out of himself. Do you know what I mean? That's the difference of it.
We used to call it he has to see Jesus. He has to crash and see Jesus.
No, he's definitely seen Jesus already on the Moto 2 when he broke his leg. He definitely saw Jesus in that, and it took him a long time to recover after that. And that's my point of it, is that
we were talking about worse than that. Okay.
I believe he was a little bit afraid of that bike when he went back to it, and it took him a while to dial in. But once he was dialed in, very rare.
Have him ride an H2, Kawasaki H2 already.
He'd be fine. Yeah. Listen, he'd probably ride it faster in first gear than we could ever do it. So
yeah, true. But that thing, we're all twisted up. People think, oh, and hey, no, great. No, it's just not.
Anyway, right. I think anyway, on that bombshell, we'll wrap it up for this week. Race 1 of Loads Down. It will be interesting to see what happens in Portimao 2 weeks' time. I think Qatar is an out there circuit. It's a bit of a weird one. Do you know what I mean? It's not a normal race. So, but yeah, I think we will. I look forward to Portimao actually.
Yeah.
That could be the track that puts Acosta on the map.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that. Yep.
Yeah. He's done plenty of testing around there.
No, really, I didn't know that. That makes it even better.
Yeah, well, look, it's a European track. A lot of them would do fairly good amount of test days around those circuits. Be interesting to see how Morbidelli gets on in that track. Having the big bang there,
I'll tell you, poorly.
Yeah, because he Yeah, he still doesn't remember. You know that he doesn't still remember the accident. Mark told him how he found him in the
Oh man,
yeah.
So
the back of the grid will be Yamahas, and then the very last will be Hondas.
I think I think I would be a little bit more confident about Yamaha around Portimao than any other circuit.
That's what I say. They'll beat the Honda out. I think they're going to beat the Honda out.
Yeah, Yamaha around Portimao only gets murdered on the straight. Do you know what I mean? And it's the hill on the straight actually that kills them. And listen, if you ever get a chance to go to Portugal and go to Portimao,
I heard it's phenomenal.
Yeah. I'll be there in July.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna try and touch my elbow off it. Literally, no, I'm just gonna bend down and touch my elbow. I'm not gonna fucking fall off.
Okay, Martin, do a Martin.
Yeah. But no, we'll go to Portimao in July, I think. So yeah. Anyway, on that bombshell, we will wrap it up. We will see you all again next week.
All right.